I am in mutes. First of all, welcome everyone. This is great to see so many of you come out. We have another time slot, and that's at 6:00 p.m. when we hope to meet up with other judges. And again, this is the first time we're going to be doing this orientation online. And we will record it. We will provide it for other folks that may, however, not make it for this one or the 6:00 orientation. But I will sort of briefly go through the Guam History Day orientation. So again, introductions. Lavon is actually the state coordinator for Guam History Day at the National History Day level. The Guam Preservation started this Guam History Day many years ago, and then we had sort of taken the baton and given it to the University of Guam to continue the program. It is a great program. It is a program that actually it actually, I have to say, it actually works, because my kids had joined it, and there's some transformation that happens when students go through with History Day. We have other folks that can testify also that their kids went through some transformation. The skills that they learn by just doing Guam History Day is invaluable. It is the skills that they forever will take with them. And these are research skills, writing skills, and presentation skills. You know, Guam History Day is driven not by the teacher, but by the student. It is a program that teachers will facilitate their students, but the student, they're the ones that conduct the research work. They're the ones that write their piece. They're the ones that present it to the community. And now it is our turn. It is our turn, the community's turn, to embrace them. And that the way we do it is by being part of this evaluation. I call it evaluation. I really hate to use the word judge, because we, you know, and now with this new change, we're not judging the students from each other. We're judging we're actually evaluating their projects. And so that's how this whole thing is going to evolve into, is that we as community members are going to go in, and we're going to read their work. We're going to watch it on video or in their website, and we're going to watch them do performance, and we're going to evaluate their work according to what we think is a good rubrics. And I know that some community folks are not educators, and just the jargon itself, the rubrics is really sort of a little bit intimidating. But I want to say that rubrics really just means that this is how we like to see the projects work. This is how we like to see a good project. And so that's really how we're going to evaluate it. We're not going to evaluate all the projects together and say which one is number one, which one is number two. We're going to evaluate the project as the project itself. And then when we get together as judges, and we'll explain that later, then we have a consensus of which is the first place or second place or third place. But it is an affiliated program with the National History Day. It's an initiative by Guam Preservation Trust. It was the first strategic plan that we did, and educators and community folks said we should have a Guam History Day. So I went in online and said, you know, I better look and see what other people are doing in the other states or other jurisdiction. And sure enough, National History Day popped up. I saw what they were offering, and I thought this was a really great program. And so since then, we've adopted that program, and we've affiliated ourselves with National History Day. It is a nonprofit organization that brings in all the states and territories together, not only to embrace the history of America, but the history of the world. But in the case of Guam, we are focusing our history, the history on Guam itself. So all of the projects that you're seeing, that you're going to be reading about is really Guam centric. It's focused on Guam. So you look at the theme, and then they come up with a topic, and that topic has to be a topic of Guam's history. They've been working on it for so long, these students, and now it's our turn to come together and evaluate their work. The program itself caters to middle and high school, and you probably all know that by now. The theme for this year is debate and diplomacy in history, successes, failures, and consequences. So throughout the project, this is really basically what you're going to see is the theme, and the topic is going to sort of reflect on that theme itself. The theme is set by National History Day, so everybody that is competing in History Day is going to be writing about that theme. It could be a history of the world for some states, history of their states for, like for instance, Guam, it's just the history of Guam. The student actually choose their, so they choose their topics, and they choose their formats, and it's actually driven by the student themselves. So the projects that, and some of you guys have already known, some of you who are seasoned evaluators already know the 5 categories. So the formats are paper, documentary, exhibits, performance, and websites. And so you have your different groups. You have your individual and your group category that is coming from your middle school division or junior division, and then your senior division or high school division from 6 to 8 and 9 to 12 respectively. I think you guys already been assigned for your categories and your groups. So let me move on to the next one. So the contest progression. So, normally pre-pandemic, the schools normally have their own local competition at their school level. They will pick their top 3 winners from each category, and those top 3 winners would be sent to the island-wide competition. So we go through with the evaluation. The judges now go through the evaluation. We are now at the island-wide competition, and that's what we're going to be evaluating. The winners of the island-wide competition will head on to the nationals, the national competition. So who can join? Which, any student can join from either public or private, or even DODEA, Department of Defense schools are invited to join. So judging, the evaluation teams. You have teams of 3. One will be considered or will be chosen as the captain, and they're the ones that organize everything together. And the goal is to achieve consensus. And so Lavon will chime back in to talk about the rubrics, to talk about how you're going to communicate with each other and come to a consensus. Normally, we would have face-to-face. We have a live evaluation, and the judges will make that decision right then and there. They sign off a consensus form, and they move on to the the next category. But in this case, we are all doing everything virtual. And so that's a little bit different this year. And we hope that this will be the last year for this virtual competition. Rules. So each category has its rules. So if you were judging paper, the paper category, whether they be middle or high school, whether they be group or individual, you follow that same rules for paper, for website, for performance, exhibit, or documentary. And so the rules, I'm sure that Lavon had emailed you the rules for these categories, and especially the category that you will be evaluating. Okay, so within each project, there's a requirement by the students, the requirement for students to submit 2 documents on top of the project that they do. The first one is your process paper. And the process paper really is a sort of an essay of how the student went about doing their work. So they would finish their project, and then they will come up and sit and think of how they did their project, the whole process. And so when you read the process paper, you're already reading the challenges that they had to go through. You're already reading the fun part of what they were doing and who helped them, how did they help them, and things like that. Everything related to the project that they're working on. And so it is important that the judges read the process paper to understand the project itself. The other requirement is the annotated bibliography. And the annotated bibliography really is something that judges should read. When you read the annotated bibliography, you already know the context. You already know how rich the paper or the project is going to be because of the sources that they listed. Annotated bibliography really is listing the sources, and they also list why they use that source. And yes, again, it's recommended that you read it before you get into the project. The annotated bibliography really is, all of these, the process paper and annotated bibliography, they have requirement on how many words they have to use, and the students know that, the teachers know that. So you really don't have to count yourself as an evaluator. Okay. In the annotated bibliography, the students are supposed to categorize them by primary sources and secondary sources. And so we, as evaluators, should know what a primary source is and what a secondary source is. So, a primary source would be somebody that lived the events, somebody that lived the event, that wrote something about it, whether it be through a diary or letters, or they drew maps, or they even took pictures of the events or did paintings. Then secondary sources are folks that wrote about it, that did research work and wrote about whatever it is, the event. So they're secondary sources. So
hey, Joe,
we always,
Joe,
yes.
may I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Aren't newspapers considered primary source if we have a free press and we support journalists? Isn't that kind of listed as a primary source?
The reporters, if the reporters are reporting the events, they're reporting it secondhand. They're not living the events.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
So
well,
if it
okay.
was coming from the source itself, then yes. If it was about a reporter, you know, if the significant event or the historic event is about a reporter and that reporter was writing in the newspaper, then yeah, I would see that that would be a primary source. But if a reporter went to some event and something and wrote about it, never took part of that event and just writing about it, then that is secondary.
I was taught different. I'm sorry.
Okay. It will be the same thing with as you know, an interview. A good example would be a lot of students would get mistaken when they go in to interview a professor at the university, and they put that down as primary. But the
That
professor,
professors, yeah, that professor is an expert in the field.
yeah, but they're not primary source. They didn't live the events, but they read
Okay.
about it, they heard about it, and they're reporting about it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at, I don't like to talk about disqualification versus infraction, but it's something that we need to put in just in case you come across it. When you're doing disqualification, it was recommended that you refer that to the coordinator, the state coordinator. Only the state coordinator can disqualify a project. You can report that to the state coordinator. The state coordinator will approach the students and the teacher, and whatever action comes out of that, that would be the state coordinator's action. For infraction, you may list down infractions and report them. It is, you know, and you can actually inform the student of these infractions, but in a very positive way. If you want to do that, that will be up to you. But if you can make it more positive, very positive, you know, something that would encourage the student to learn from that rather than intimidate the students. Okay. Now, this normally is what we do pre-pandemic, where we have the judges sign of who the first, second, and third place students through a consensus. Many times there are judges that have different opinions. Those things need to be discussed within your judge, and the captain actually would have to that you can't just say, well, we can't agree. The captain that's the captain's job to make sure that you all agree that there is a consensus to this. And if there still is an issue, then that gets reported to the state coordinator, and the state coordinator will handle it from there. And then I will ask Levon to come in. And before we go, is there anything, Levon, you want to?
No, I guess I can go ahead and share my screen. Oh, can you enable me, Joe, please, if you don't mind?
Okay, hold on.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to look it up because it's kind of differing whether or not newspapers are primary or secondary sources. So I think that they, depending on, so if it says, so I just shared outlet, produce, basic, where to begin and differentiate. But if the newspaper reporter is reporting an eyewitness account, and they're describing the events that they saw themselves, or they're close to the source, it actually is considered a primary source. But I think that if you're quoting from an interview, say you're quoting an individual that was quoted in the newspaper, then that makes it a secondary source. So it sort of depends on, because it is like frequent that when we do judge, a lot of the sources are newspaper articles. So I think this is kind of an important thing to figure out, because yeah, for a lot of the students, that's going to be the majority of their research, right? Depending on what they're presenting. So it's a bit confusing still. So I just shared the OWL at Purdue, which is it's sort of a good collection of like for writers of different writing roles and things like that. But you kind of just have to, and then what Joe is saying about like professors who studied a time in history, if they didn't live it and they're not telling a first person account of the historical moment, then they are considered a secondary source. But if they interviewed like their grandmother and she lived the account, then she's a primary source, right? So I think you just have to ask yourself, like, did the source experience what is being described? And if they did, and it's a first person account, then it's primary, right? So an op-ed about something somebody saw or experienced is a primary source, right? A reporter describing exactly what happened at a scene is a primary source. A reporter quoting someone else describing the scene makes that newspaper article a secondary source. Does that make sense? Joe, does that sound a little bit more in line with what you were trying to say?
Yeah, it does. And if you're able to identify that, then yes, I would say that. But many times when a reporter goes out to report an event, there's a mindset already that they want to do. They're not experiencing the stuff. They are going to report it. They are going to report it for a job that they're going to do, or they're going to report it for a newspaper. So they're looking at something that is, primary, and they are secondary that's reporting, even if it's during that events. They're not part of a protest. They're not part of the thing that happened. They're just reporting it. But if it's for special circumstances, I believe you can do that.
Yeah, it is confusing. So thank you. But I just shared what I found online. Hopefully it helps.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, excuse me. I just wanted to add one follow-up. I'm Chris Rasmussen, and I teach history at UOG. And the primary secondary source distinction is always an important topic in any of the history classes we teach. Generally, if the how I've done it is if the newspaper report, even if it is if someone is taking quotes from someone who saw an event or from a government official, if it is from the time of that event, I would count it as a primary source. If it were a magazine article about a historical event 20 years in the past, an interpretation of that historical event, I would see that as a secondary source. So even if the reporter hadn't seen it, but had spoken to people who had, that to me would have the same category as or be in the same category as an oral history or that kind of thing. It doesn't have the interpretive layer that a secondary source would have. And so for me, the distinction is when the artifact is, when it comes from. If it is from the time of the event, that would be primary. If it is produced after, particularly if it's produced by historians who are interpreting the event, then you've got a secondary source.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Lavon, you ready to go in for?
Yeah, if you can share, if you can allow me to share the screen.
I think I just did.
Okay. Let me see now. Where is my? Okay, I hope this is it. Oh. Sorry, Joe. Please bear
That's
with
all right.
me. I'm trying to get into this and it's not a day. Okay. Here we go. Oh, hello.
Hello?
Okay, okay. Are you seeing my screen right now?
Nope.
Oh,
Yep.
No?
No.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Where did it go?
Try doing it again.
I'm trying to bring people up and okay, here we go. Yikes. Okay, now I have to bring in my screen. Help. Can anybody see this? Or no? Okay,
Your name.
so
No,
you know what? I am just having the grand time here, trying to figure out how to share my screen. Help.
Okay.
Noah.
Just go to share screen
Here we are.
and your screen should pop up.
I love you guys. Thank you.
Oh, it's you have to do it through your system preferences.
Oh my God. Oh, please bear with me. I'm so sorry. I thought we were ready.
Oh, it's not letting. Okay, let's go into security and privacy. Dispense. Okay, system preferences.
There, Zoom.
It's just not letting me connect. I've been having the same problem. Okay. Another
Yvonne,
option.
would you like to send it to my computer and I can try to share it from my screen?
Okay. Is that you, Desi?
Yes, I'm right next door.
Okay, let's go. Let's try and do it that way then.
Security. Yeah, this isn't working. Sorry. Okay, Des, we're gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Is it saved on the desktop?
Let me see.
There we go.
Maybe while Levon gets to put all of that up, what I can do is I can talk about these new things that are happening. For the judges that did this pre-pandemic years face-to-face, you had your evaluation form, and that evaluation form had your criterias, and then for your criterias, then it indicates excellent, superior, kind of, all these levels of your evaluation for that criteria. Well, that's thrown out. So what you're looking at is a rubrics, and the rubrics it's basically the same thing. It's just that it's just called differently. And the rubrics actually would give you a much more detailed how you evaluate historical context, how you evaluate the topic, how you evaluate the presentation, and stuff like that. So what you're doing is basically looking at a rubric and saying, okay, this project is good in that it follows the rubric of a really good project, and I'm going to put that up. And then you look at the next the next area of evaluation, and you're going to do the same. The rubrics are there. So basically, to me, it seems kind of sort of complex because there's just so much things to read, but it's really simple if you look at it. And just the best thing to do is just to get together with your team and just do a consensus with all of them, looking at the projects individually and really not comparing the project to other projects in that category. that you're able to look at the project in itself and say, this is a good project according to the rubrics. So so that's basically what Lavon's going to explain to you, and that's what she wants to put up, and that's what she's doing right now.
There you go.
I think we fixed it on this end. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes.
So we're gonna go to
Yeah.
play from start. Is that better?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it shows.
Thank you, Lola.
You're welcome.
Hallelujah. Yay, thanks. So, okay, so here we go. So this is one of the new things that we've done. We did this last year. We created a Guam History Day banner, and we're very happy with this, and it's exciting and young, and just, and it pulls out elements from the different eras in our, that affect our culture and our traditions. So this is our new banner. So moving on, so the Z-Fairs Management Contest Management System is one that National History Day adopted from the developer of the science fairs. So if you were ever a judge of the science fair, this is the same system, so it might be familiar to you. If not, not to worry, we will go in and learn how to use the system. Now, the beauty of a virtual contest is that you can review the projects at any time of your choosing. We do ask that you allow approximately 3 to 4 hours to review and evaluate your assigned projects. In addition, we also ask for at least an hour to meet virtually with your partner judges to discuss the entries and finalize your evaluations and place rankings. So let's view the Z-Fairs Guam contest site by going to GUND, gu.nhd.org. So when you sign in as a judge on the Z-Fairs site, this is the default page that that you will see. It's the judges registration page. You just simply skip over it and go to the judges tab at the top of the banner. Okay, and click on it, and it'll take you to the judges portal. This is where you want to be, at the judges portal. Okay, click to get in there. And when you get in, you'll see 2 different sections, the judges groups and the judging assignments. In the judges groups, it'll tell you who your team is. The first person on that team will be the team captain. And the role of the team captain, as Joe had mentioned, is he's responsible for keeping you and your team to task. So if at any time during the evaluation process period, so you have the competition begins March 26th, that's the official first day. You have to, from March 26th to April 6th, to view these projects and evaluate them, meet with your judges, and then come to consensus, okay? So anytime during that period, the team captain is able to look at your progress with each project. And if they feel like you're not moving anywhere, they'll come and they'll kind of like push you or jolt you until you get going. So this is the order of, and also the team captain will coordinate the team meeting and lead the discussions and kind of bring your team into consensus of the results for your particular category. So here you find your team. You'll have their information, their email or telephone number. So throughout the evaluation, when you're done, this is how you would communicate with your team, okay? In this page, it'll also show you the different categories that you as a judge will be involved in. This particular judge is involved in 3 different categories. They're part of performance group high school, performance individual high school, and also the performance group middle school. And the reason being is that these categories have few projects within, so we're able, she is a veteran judge, so she's able to go and judge other categories. You will find that her role will change once she comes into the middle group category. She will then become the lead judge, okay? Down in the judging assignments, this is what you'll see as a judge. In the top, again, because this judge has 3 different categories that she will be judging, there are tabs right above, right under judging assignments. Not every judge will have different assignments, especially the new ones. They would most likely just have one, but I encourage you to just make sure and check that you don't have to more than one tab. More than one tab under your assignment. Under there, you'll see building and room information, and also a time stamp. Just ignore that. That's for the purposes of organization and for the virtual room. So don't worry too much about that. What you need to know for sure is that you're judging the right, you're in the right room, you're judging senior group performance, and then you also see your partner judges off to the right. And as you can see from this particular example, there is a status off to the right of the judges in this section. It indicates not started. So as you go through your judging period, this status will change. So when you begin to evaluate these projects, the system will show that it is in process, that you're actually in there looking at the projects and you're evaluating. Okay. The next thing, so this is just to give you an idea. In that last example, there was only one project. In this second one, as you can see, there are two projects. And so because this judge only has 3 projects to evaluate, she's able to pick up a third one. Okay. So moving on, let's see now. Okay, when you click into, sorry, you would go and click into view and evaluate now at this point. When you click into the view and evaluate, it'll take you to the actual evaluation sheet. At the top of the evaluation sheet, it'll have the title of the project. It'll tell you the category, and then just to reassure you, it'll give you your name so that you know for sure that this is your evaluation sheet. Off to the left, again, the category, then I'll have written materials. This is where the process paper and the annotated bibliography will be housed. So this is where you would want to go. We encourage you to go into this particular section first to view the process paper and the annotated bibliography. There should be a link directly under this that states project and provides the link. In this case, the student had not uploaded their project, so the system did not pick it up. But when we go into the, once we close how do I say this? Okay, so the day before the competition, there will be a lockdown. The students are not allowed to go in anymore to make any changes, to do anything with their projects. Everything has to be uploaded, and what they've uploaded is the project that you judges will see. And so right under written materials, there should be a link into the projects. And then you have your evaluation sheet. As Joe had stated, there have been changes to these to the evaluation sheet, and the idea behind the changes from the NHD side is to force the judges to evaluate the projects for what it's worth against their criteria, and not to have the judges evaluate the projects against the other projects. So this evaluation form is structured to have the judges evaluate the projects for what it's worth, okay? Historical quality is 80%, and the clarity of presentation is 20. As you go through the evaluation, you will click. These are little bullet points that you would click throughout this whole sheet. Should you at any point miss a step, or say, for instance, you forgot to evaluate primary sources and attempt to submit your evaluation, the system will prompt you and tell you that there is an error and tell you that it's incomplete because you had skipped a section. Okay, and so, and the evaluation continues down to rules compliance. Now, I've sent you the rules that govern your categories. And the rules compliance, this is where you as judges have to go in and determine, based on the rules given, whether the students had complied with it. If not, then you would have to state what the infraction was. Say, for instance, in this particular project, because it's a performance, the student had gone over his performance by a minute. Okay, that becomes an unfair advantage to the other competitor, so then that becomes a minor infraction. The judges are required to, if you don't catch it, if you as a judge don't catch it, but then your team members do, this will be brought up at your session when you meet and discuss these projects. Directly beneath is the strengths and area of improvement. This is a critical area for the students. The students will look at the evaluation, but the feedback is really what they're looking for. And so we encourage the judges to please provide positive feedback, provide constructive feedback. If, for instance, the student is lacking on information that you feel could strengthen their paper or their project better, then you can say, perhaps you may want to look at this, or perhaps if you interviewed a monuncle, that would strengthen your case. But always be positive and always be constructive. It's a 500 character count section. There are no limits to what you can say, but we ask that you at least fill, again, if you don't fill that up, the system will stop you and will force you to continue to comment on that section. Directly beneath are personal notes. This is your space to say whatever you want about this project. If you feel the project was junk, you can say that. That information will not be given to the students. This is where you can state whatever you want. If you think it's a spectacular project, this is where you put that on information. And then when you meet with your partner judges, this will help you and guide you to explain where you stand in terms of the project. Please, I ask, and the strengths and areas of improvement, do not state that your project was stellar, that it was the best, it was this, because then it'll give the students false hope that their project is a winner, when in fact, in the end, based on consensus, they may not be the winner. So be positive, be constructive, and it'll be fine. Yeah. Always save whatever you do throughout the whole process. Always save your work. And then when you come back to it, you can continue. And then when you're done, you're ready to save and share with your team. And so you just hit that button. Please note that your personal notes will not show when the evaluation is uploaded. The students will see the evaluation up until the personal notes. That would not be shared with the student. Okay, moving on. I just wanted to show you, let's see. Okay. Going back to that example, I wanted to show you what a team captain will see as a judge. So the team captain, the difference that they have is that they have the submit ranking button. Once the judges have all come to a consensus and have determined the rankings for each of the projects, then they will, the team captain then has the role of submitting the ranking to us. Also there, it's right smack in the middle, are special award nominations. There will be special awards that we will be given. Here is where you as judges can nominate a project if you feel if it's worthy of a special award. And so once you submit your once you submit your ranking and your winners, then you're done and your role as a judge is completed until I tap you again next year. So I want to thank you again, Sujas Masi, for your time. And if there are any questions that Joe and I can address at this time, please let us know. And again, thank you. I apologize for the snafu with my presentation. I thought I was done, but I mean, I thought I was ready, but clearly not. In any event, thank you again. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hey, Levon, is there a list of special awards?
Yes, we do. There is a list. I'm just going through it now, and I will send that out to the judges so that you can view them. It's usually, how do we do this? World War II, the World War II award. There is the Women in Guam's History Award. In that particular, that's kind of like the nature of how those awards will be structured. Just so you know, because this is we're just now reinstating the Guam History Day program, the students will not be competing at nationals. And the reason why that decision was made was because for one thing, I think coming back into the program, we're just getting the students back, or the teachers back into redoing and relearning and introducing this whole new rubrics. We wanted to give them a chance to get used to the new rubrics and to assist their students into this particular program again. Now that we've reinstated, it's a whole new kind of environment for us as well as the teachers and the students. So we've decided to just keep our competition just here in Guam, and we will try our best to award our students with equitable compensation as we would if they were going to go off island. When we did our virtual competition 2 years ago, right when the pandemic hit, we were able to give laptops and iPads to our first place winners, and they were very pleased with it. So not only did they have bragging rights, but they had these great tools and toys that they can play with. So,
Hey, Levon?
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anything? Shannon, did you have something?
Yeah, are we going to be able to interview the students?
At this time, no. NHD discourages any kind of interviews because this is virtual. If this is a virtual competition, they do not want to put the students in any kind of danger because it's virtual. We don't know who on the other side could be taking a picture of the students, who could be, and so to avoid any of that stuff, NHD just does not want any virtual interviews, no interviews at all. So the students project will stand on its own. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Good question. Anything else? If not, I want to say thank you again for your time and for your patience. And I really appreciate you being here and being part of this whole program. And if at any time you have any questions, please feel free to call me or email me. And you can call Joe as well if you feel more comfortable talking to Joe. And we'll try and help you. But thank you again. Appreciate it.
There's Mase.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, have a good
Good
day.
to see you all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Great seeing you.
All right, adios.
Yes.
Good
Thank
to see
you.
you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Great job. Thank you, Vaughn and
Thank
Joe,
you.
for all keeping this alive.
Thank you, Lola, for your help. I appreciate you.
No problem.
you.
Hago Lakwi. Adios.
Esta.
Bye-bye.